Hey guys, it is Kelly with Conquer Your Message. And we had the cameras going, we had the recording going, but it was not showing up in the Facebook feed as it was supposed to. So I apologize for that. But I'm glad we caught it, right? So I'm just going to back up and start over again here. I'm really glad that you guys are here. There are, welcome. Welcome to the 5-day Conquer Your Message Challenge. By the end of this week, you are going to have a tangible working message that you can work from on any platform. Whether you're choosing to be in the online space, whether you're choosing to be some type of presenter, or if you're going to be doing small groups and workshops, it all comes back to that message. Right? And that's why we're here today and this week. And I'm really thankful that you guys have jumped on this. A little housekeeping items here. Number one, we have a handful of people who have signed up for the challenge, but they have not joined the group yet. So I want to make sure that we've sent the link. You have that. Make sure that you click the link to join our private closed Facebook group, because this is where you're going to get the daily trainings and that interaction with me. Additionally, since we are on a Facebook Live video, what I'd like for you to do, if you have a comment or a question, what I need you to do is actually go into the bottom and leave a comment so I can be sure to address that and answer it for you, okay? The third piece of housekeeping I want to address before we jump into our content today is the emails had a delay when they went out this morning, and I apologize for that. Scott and I figured out what the problem was. We had them resent, and they should have hit your inbox about 11:45, okay? You want to make sure that you check that you whitelist our email address, because in that email, you're going to get one every morning. They're set to go out about 9 o'clock, 9:30, somewhere right in there. They have your daily training, and more importantly, they have your daily worksheets. And you really need to print those worksheets out and work from them, because every day we're going to build on those, okay? So let's get started. I'm really glad that you're here. I'm so thankful for you. So, Conquer Your Message. Day one, who are you? The who. You know, we have to first determine what it is that we're going to speak about. And at the end, we're going to really work through this and have that message. But, you know, I struggled with this for about a year and a half. I've spent a ton of time. I couldn't tell you how many hours I have logged in with webinars, reading hardcover physical books, reading electronic copy. I've gone to workshops, I've gone to training, all to determine how to really hone my message. And I think the problem that I uncovered for me is that I'm what they call a multi-passionate creative. Well, what's a multi-passionate? A multi-passionate is someone who has a wide variety of passions and interests. And, you know, it's like with everything, it's a double-edged sword. It's good because it's very diverse, and I can typically speak to a lot of different things. The double-edged sword to that is I can speak to a lot of different things. So the struggle that I had when I first got into the online space was really trying to hone in on my ideal client, and how do I get all this experience and the message that was on my heart, how do I break through that online traffic and break through that online noise, and where what I write is going to reach out and grab the attention of my ideal client. And I came across, I really got frustrated one weekend because I'm not a dummy. I'm smart. I think that I am. I'm pretty level-headed about different things, and I'm pretty good of learning new things, pretty adaptive. And so it's frustrating to me because I would sit and I would work on my sales funnel, or I would sit down to write an email sequence, and what should have taken me an hour to write, five sequences of emails, I would go back, I'd write them out, and I would go back and I would read it, and the message was all over the place. And I knew that. I knew that what I was turning out was so much less than what I was capable of. On top of that, it was frustrating because I had this message inside, and I couldn't get it out. The more I tried, the more I elaborated, the worse it got. And everybody, as you get into the online space, whether you're a newbie or you're seasoned, everybody will tell you to make a list of your ideal clients' descriptives. Are they married? Are they single? Are they a male? Are they female? Where do they live? What do they do for a living? How much money do they make? How many kids do they have? What kind of cars do they drive? What do they like to do as a hobby? What are their struggles? What are their pain points? And the pain points and struggles were pretty easy to figure out. The problem was I had about 3 different ideal clients. So I would wrestle with this over and over and over. And you can imagine if you're trying to send one message out and it missing the mark, because when we would test ads and test different posts and different email sequences, it seemed to fall on deaf ears. A term in the industry is you hear crickets, nothing coming back. So I really sat down, I got with my coach, and we really started to drill down, and from that, I'm going to walk you through today's training, because this was the core piece. And it empowered me, and I'll share this now. It empowered me when I went through this to be able to commit instead of trying to have 3 different ideal clients, because I knew I could help this group, and I knew I could help group number 2, and I knew I could help group number 3. I made a commitment. Who was the one that I could help the most? And then what I did in our business is we laid out group 2 and group 3 are going to be a second and a third phase. Okay? So let's dive in. Okay? So when you go through your worksheets from today, the first thing you do is you have to start with you. Okay? You have to start with you. And I left you a space. I want you to write a list of your innate qualities. Okay? Qualities like, I'm a good listener. I'm a good organizer. I'm a really good problem solver. I'm really good with no drama. I'm loyal. I'm deep. I'm an introvert. I'm an extrovert. These are descriptives that you've claimed for yourself. Your friends may speak to you and say, oh, you're always so blank. For me, I'm serious. I had a mentor about 15 years ago, and she would tease me. She said, Kelly, you were born at 30 and then began to age. And I can relate to that. That's so evident in my entire life. So take this time to write those qualities down and understand that there is no judgment. Okay? There's no judgment. For me, I have a quality that I'm stubborn. Well, when you first hear the word stubborn, that could come across as a negative. But let me tell you something. If we're in the throes of something and there's a challenge in front of me, you know what? It's good to be stubborn every now and then, because you got to have the stick-to-itiveness to see it to the other side. Okay? So allow yourself the freedom to write what those descriptives are. Okay? And I should have said this in the beginning. I hope that you're in a quiet space when you go through these worksheets, because you really need to dive deep and be very honest with yourself about exploring and discovering these things. And you don't want to have distractions. You want to allow your mind and your heart to just really have the space that they need to work through, okay? Because this is a working through exercise, all right? So once you have your list of descriptives, then the next thing you need to do is make a list of your core values. Now, your core values and your descriptors, they're going to be similar, but they're not going to be the same. A core value for me, for instance, is it's about the principle. You know, I'm really good about being patient and taking the licks and rolling with it. But when I get to a point and you've crossed that line with me, it's about the principle at that point. And it could be something that is so small, I'm going to stand on it because it's about the principle. Now again, here is your out. We all have these qualities. They can be good and they can be negative. Our job is to be aware of them and know when they are servicing us and when they're not. And be mature enough to handle it and suck it up when they're not. And you say, you know what? Grow up, pull your head out of your rear end and get a grip and suck it up and move on. This is not one of those times. So for me, one of my deep core principles, core values, is that it's all about the principle. And I see this evident through my life, okay? The other core value that I have is I always speak the truth. This has been my nemesis growing up, because when you speak the truth and you are a youngster, as in elementary school and middle school and high school, I might be ready for it, but the person on the other end may not. So you combine that and the fact that I'm stubborn and I'm serious, sometimes my social graces lack some, you know, and I had to work through that as an adult, and I had to learn how to improve on it. But what comes out of that is one of the things that my circle of friends cherish about me the most is the fact that I'm going to call it like I see it. I'm going to call it for what it is. If the milk's spilt, then clean it up and let's move on. I'm going to speak the truth. And they know that when they come to me and they're asking for advice, because sometimes your toes can get stepped on with that. And sometimes you just got to be mature enough to handle it. So when you are working through your part of this, look at what your core values are, because the core values are a stepping stone to the next piece of this exercise. Okay? So you've got your list of qualities and you've got your list of core values. What you need to do at this point is think back to when you were younger, right? Think back to stories that you draw upon when you are sitting at the dining room table, hanging out with your friends or your family, when you're reminiscing. Oh, remember that time when, or remember when this happened. But this time when you think back, what you need to do is pull out the stories that represent the qualities that you listed in your course your descriptives about yourself and your core values. And guys, I'm telling you, this piece right here, this is going to be the key that unlocks everything for you. When I started doing this the first time, I was like, oh my goodness, I don't know. I don't know if I have this story and I have that, and I started writing them out, not in a book. What I did was I took about a paragraph, and I don't know, I have a few stories that were about 4 or 5 sentences, and then I have some that were about 10. But I found that as I opened that door and I allowed myself to go down this road, more and more stories would come to me where I showed up in life and I was able to get through something and have a breakthrough and get to the other side. And I'm telling you guys, this is your game changer. Okay? So please, please hear me. Go to these stories. They might be something from when you were in elementary school. It might be something that happened to you as a young adult. It might have been something that happened when you were in college. It might have been something that happened when you were in your late 20s or 30s. Write the story down. Okay? So once you do that, what you need to do is you need to put a name to these stories. Okay? I, for one, have a story I call my 10 cup story. And I think most of you that are my age are going to know the movie 10 Cup with Kevin Costner and Renee, I can't think of her last name. Russo? No. Russo, yeah, Renee Russo. I grew up playing competitive golf, and I was 18 years old. And by this point, I had been playing competitive golf for, I'd been playing competitive golf since I was about 7 or 8 years old, and then I really excelled and was playing at a state level in my high school years. I played on the boys varsity high school team. I played in the summer league. I traveled to women's tournaments around the state of Florida and junior tournaments. So, and I was a very good golfer. And one of my strengths at the time is I was able to hit the ball off the tee a very, very long way. And playing with the boys on the high school varsity team meant they still outdrove me. So I might be hitting my tee shots 280 yards, and the guys that which was a long way for a woman. I mean, my average drive was between about 220 and 280, you right in that. Point being is I also had to get good around the greens to hold my own, because the guys are still throwing the ball well beyond where I was landing it. And I'd been playing in this junior league for several years at this point, at least 10. And at the end of the season, we had a Tournament of Champions. And this particular year, the Tournament of Champions was played at a course owned by the PGA Tour. And I had won this tournament almost every year that I'd been in it. And I know that I had won it the last 5 or 6 years that I had been playing in it. And I was more interested in playing the course than I was winning the medal. And I got paired with a gal who was trying to play catch up with me. And I was well ahead of her by several strokes. And we got to a par 5 on the back. And this par 5, I was able to do what we call get home in 2. Which meant I was, as a par 5, if you don't know, the way golf works is you are allowed so many strokes to get from the tee to the green, and then they always figure 2 putts. So on a par 5, that is 3 strokes to get to the green and 2 strokes or 2 putts to get the ball in the hole once you're on the green. So we got to this par 5, and it was a dogleg left, and the green was surrounded by a body of water. And in golf, if you get your ball in the water, it is a 2-stroke penalty. And we only had about 4 holes left to go, and I had ripped my drive off the tee, put it in perfect placement. My goal when I set up to that tee box, I wanted to get home in 2. I wanted to get on the green in 2 strokes, not 3. So I ripped my drive off the tee, put the ball exactly where I wanted to be, and I took a fairway wood and launched it into the green. And the problem was it hit the green and it rolled off. I was too far. Well, I knew I could make the shot. And just like Kevin Costner did in the 10 Cup movie, I proceeded to put every ball in my bag in the water until I was down to my last ball. I was probably on this hole about a good 10-15 minutes. I had the refs and the umps coming up. My coach drove up on the golf cart and was looking at me, shaking her head, going, "No, just take the drop." At this point, for me, It wasn't about winning the tournament anymore. I had done that multiple times. It wasn't about beating the girl that I was playing against. I knew I could beat her. I had done it many times through the high school years and outside. For me, I had to prove to myself that I had it in me and I could execute, that I could do it. So with that last ball in my hand, I took the last drop and I was like, before I swung the shot, I remember thinking, if I hit this ball in the water, I'm disqualified. I can't finish the game. I can't finish the round. I was okay with that outcome. And I think in that moment when I let that fear go, it enabled me to settle down. I took the best swing that I had taken at that moment, launched it, and I landed it. And I actually think I one-putted to get it in the hole once I got on the green. I lost the tournament that day. And I had a lot of people that laughed at me because I dropped about 10, 12 balls in the middle of the fairway, hitting the shot over and over. But what I got out of that was I had proven to myself, yeah, it took me a little bit longer. Yeah, it was a rocky road, but I was able to do it. So from that, my Tin Cup story is my own. And this happened well before the movie ever came out. And I laugh about that. But that Tin Cup story has been able to help other people that felt like they couldn't do it. And because I own that, and I've been able to put a name to it, I'm able to come from a place of genuine authenticity and passion. When I'm talking to one of my students and my clients, I can say, you can do this. And I can say it with such conviction because it's woven into the threads of who I am. And guys, this is the key. When you are writing your stories and they are aligning with your core values and the descriptives that you have, this is where that passion is going to ignite. And you're going to start laying that foundation to write those emails and write the ad copy that you need to write. So get your butt into these worksheets. I'm going into coaching mode right now. Get your butt into those worksheets. Write your stories out. Put a name to them. And then write your point of view. Right? Write your point of view. What is it? And the awesome thing is that when you are with someone, because you've given the story a name, you're going to be able to recall it exactly when you need to. And it's going to flow right out of you. Okay? So what I want you to do today is in the group, or if you haven't found an accountability partner in the group, then get with someone that's close to you that you trust. And what I want you to do is I want you to take your 3 or 4 stories and I want you to share it with them. And when you're done, let them give you the feedback coming back. What common words did they hear over and over? What themes did they hear repeated in your stories? What values did they hear? And jot those down because you're going to need them with how we're going to deal with this tomorrow, okay? If you do not have an accountability partner and you are too shy right now to share these stories with someone else and ask them to do this exercise with you, then here's your homework. I want you to share these stories on a recording. And then when you're done, I want you to go back and play them for yourself. And I want you to listen to what you're saying. And you listen for those common words, the common themes, and jot down what you're hearing on a repeated basis. Okay? So again, guys, if you have any questions about today's training, go ahead and leave a comment on this. Meanwhile, look for those emails. You'll have them in there. If you have someone that you think this would be a big help for, please share it with them. Send them the link so that they can get in on this training. They can always go back and watch these lives later on. Okay, they can catch up. It's not a problem. All right. Until tomorrow, guys, I'll see you later. Take care. Bye-bye.